Hey everyone, my name is Andrew and I'm 17 years old. The day my cousins visited our house, they didn't just laugh at my paintings, they laughed at my dream. One of them picked up my canvas, looked at it for a few seconds, then threw it back on the table and said, "You call this art?" Another cousin laughed and added, "You'll never earn a single dollar from painting." Everyone in the room laughed. I didn't say a word, but that night, I sat alone, looking at the same painting they had mocked. I had only two choices: give up forever or prove every one of them wrong. 8 years later, one of those same paintings was sold for millions of dollars, and the people who once laughed were standing in line, waiting for my autograph. This is my story. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional family success stories like this one, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, subscribe to the channel, and comment where you're watching from. Your support inspires us to create more powerful stories every week. Now, let's begin. I grew up in New York City. Since I was a little boy, painting was my favorite thing in the world. While other kids spent hours playing games, I spent my evenings drawing people, buildings, nature, and anything my imagination could create. My parents weren't rich. We lived a simple life, but every birthday, instead of asking for toys, I asked for paintbrushes and colors. My mother always smiled and said, "Andrew, never stop doing what makes your heart happy." That advice changed my life forever. The next morning, I quietly picked up my paintbrush again. My cousin's words still echoed in my mind. "You'll never become a real artist." Every stroke felt heavier than before. My mother walked into my room. She looked at my unfinished painting and asked, "Are you going to stop?" I looked down and softly replied, "I don't know anymore." She smiled, placed her hand on my shoulder, and said, "Never let people who can't see your future decide it for you." Those words gave me hope again. From that day, I made myself one promise. I would paint every single day, before school, after school, late at night, while everyone else was sleeping. I was practicing. Sometimes I painted until sunrise. Nobody noticed my hard work, but I knew every painting made me a little better. A few months later, my art teacher handed me a form. It was for a New York Young Artists competition. I hesitated. What if everyone laughs again? My teacher smiled, then said, "You'll never know unless you try." I submitted my painting, but I didn't expect anything. Competition day finally arrived. Hundreds of young artists were there. The winners' names were announced. Mine wasn't one of them. I quietly walked outside. For a moment, I thought my cousins were right. Maybe I wasn't talented enough. That night, I cried, but I didn't quit. As I was leaving, an elderly painter stopped me. He had seen my artwork. He smiled and said, "Young man, you didn't lose because you lacked talent. You lost because your best painting hasn't been created yet." Those words stayed with me forever. The next several years, I never stopped painting. I learned new styles, visited museums, studied famous artists, worked part-time jobs, just to buy better paints and canvases. Every dollar I earned went toward my dream. Slowly, my paintings became better than I had ever imagined. At the age of 25, I entered an international art competition. Artists from dozens of countries participated. This time, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I simply wanted my painting to tell my story. A few weeks later, my phone rang. The competition director said, "Andrew, congratulations. Your painting has won first place." I couldn't believe it. For a few seconds, I couldn't even speak. The dream everyone laughed at was finally becoming reality. News about my victory spread quickly. Art galleries contacted me. Collectors wanted to meet me. People from different countries started asking to buy my paintings. The same dream that once made people laugh was now opening doors I had never imagined. But the biggest moment of my life was still waiting for me. A week after winning the competition, an art collector approached me. He looked at one of my paintings for a long time. Then he smiled and asked, "Is this painting for sale?" I nervously replied, "Yes." He bought it immediately. It was the first time in my life someone had paid real money for my art. I remembered my cousin saying, "You'll never earn a single dollar from painting." That day, their words finally lost. Within months, my paintings were displayed in famous galleries. People traveled from different cities just to see my artwork. Soon, news channels began sharing my story. They called me the young artist who turned rejection into inspiration. My dream was no longer a dream. It had become reality. One afternoon, our family gathered again. Those same cousins were there. This time, nobody laughed. Instead, one of them quietly asked, "Andrew, would you paint something for my house?" I smiled, not because I wanted revenge, but because life had already answered them. Success speaks louder than arguments. A year later, one of my favorite paintings was selected for an international auction. Collectors from around the world placed their bids. The price kept rising. Thousands, hundreds of thousands, then millions. When the auction ended, the room erupted in applause. That single painting sold for millions of dollars. I stood there, unable to believe it. The first thing I did was buy my parents their dream home. When I handed them the keys, my mother burst into tears. She hugged me and whispered, "I always believed in you." My father smiled proudly and said, "Your greatest masterpiece was never a painting. It was proving that faith and hard work always win." That moment meant more to me than all the money in the world. Today, people know me as an internationally recognized artist. My paintings hang in galleries across the world. Thousands admire my work. But every time I hold a paintbrush, I remember one moment. The day my cousins laughed and said, "You'll never become a real artist." If I had listened to them, none of this would have happened. That's why I always tell young dreamers, never let someone else's opinion become the limit of your future. Every masterpiece begins with a blank canvas. Every success begins with one person who refuses to give up. And sometimes, the people who laugh at your dream today will be the first to applaud your success tomorrow.